Hi, I'm Kevin Toll with Toll Driving School. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Peace, love, and safe driving. I've been teaching driver's ed for over 30 years in my local area, and I'm proud to say that my students have never caused a crash in all that time. And when you look at it, over 30 years, that's probably about 1.5 million miles with students. And to say that they've never caused a crash says a lot about the students, and it says a lot about the instruction that they're getting. So let's talk about the 5 things that you should do before you get ready to drive. Number 1, take a quick look around the vehicle, looking at the front, both sides, and looking to the rear. What would you be looking for? Are your tires a little bit soft? Are you looking for fluids that are leaking out on the side of the vehicle? Are there any broken pieces of glass around your vehicle, or maybe things that have been left behind the car before you get in? As you approach your vehicle, always have your keys ready to press the alert button if anything looks a little bit suspicious around your vehicle. You never know when someone could be inside the vehicle or around the vehicle ready to take you or the keys to your car and to carjack you. So get inside your vehicle. Once you get into the vehicle, 4 other things should happen. 1, you should lock your door, okay, making sure that nobody's able to get into your vehicle once you start driving. It also gives you added protection in case you are hit, that the frame of the vehicle won't twist and pop open a door. The second thing you want to do is to adjust your seat, not only for height and depth, but to make sure that your hand position will be adequate to make good turns. Now, how do you know that you're close enough to the steering wheel? Probably the best way to do this is to rest your wrist at the very top of the steering wheel to make sure that when you drop your hands down into 10 and 2, 9 and 3, 8 and 4, that you have a slight flex to your elbow to make a good turn to the left and to the right. So you've locked your doors, you've adjusted your seat. You need to lock your seat belt, make sure that it is clicked in, you hear the click, that your lap belt is where you normally have your belt, below your belly button, and to make sure that your harness here is not too low or too high where it's rubbing up against your shoulder. The last thing that you need to do is to adjust your rear view mirror, so basically you can see all the back window. The side mirror control button is on the door handle where the L and an R. Other cars may have something where it's a little of a twist knob with an L and an R and a toggle switch. But basically you want to adjust your mirror so that you see very, very small amount of the car in your side view mirror. So do the left and then do the right. Make sure that it's adjusted just right. Also notice in this side mirror that we have a blind spot mirror. This is a convex mirror that allows you to see a wider angle. Some cars actually give you a blind spot monitor where it will actually flash a light indicating that someone is entering the blind spot area. So once you've gotten everything adjusted, then you can basically take a look at your instrument panel. To start a vehicle that doesn't have a key, one of the things that you have to make sure that you have on your person is something called a fob. And that fob allows you just to hit this power button and the car starts right up. If you take a look at the instrument panel, lights will come on and then turn off as the computer checks each item to make sure that it's in running condition. Now, the thing to remember about lights on the instrument panel, yellow lights tell you things are activated. Red lights indicate that it needs your attention. If you take a look at the dash, the speedometer is the dial off to the right. Notice that the seatbelt light is on. There's a passenger in the vehicle without a seatbelt, so make sure that all your passengers have their seatbelt locked. Notice the seatbelt light is now off, has been clicked. The ready light that's yellow is an indicator that the car is on. If you listen carefully, you can't hear anything but just the air conditioning. This is a Toyota Camry hybrid, which is extremely quiet. This is why you have to take a look at your instrument panel to make sure that your car can be put in the gear to move. Because if that ready light's not on, you're not going anywhere. If you look at the dial off to the left, because it is a hybrid, it has a whole bunch of information about that hybrid technology. Not too important for someone that's just learning to drive, but someone that's trying to squeeze out every little bit of miles per gallon out of the gas. They're going to be paying attention to that dial way over to the left. Your fuel gauge is at the bottom of your speedometer. Always try to keep your car at least half full. I always recommend my students to let me know when it's below half. It's not their responsibility to pay for gas, but it is their responsibility to make sure that we have enough fuel to do what we need to do. So we are definitely all set with fuel. If you take just a look to the very bottom of that gas gauge dial, there is a symbol of a gas pump with an arrow. That is indicating which side that you need to bring your vehicle over to in order to pump gas. If you pull to the opposite side, you're going to have to put that hose over the top of the vehicle, or over the hood, or over the trunk. Not a very good idea. You're going to kind of look a little bit foolish doing that. Now, probably the most important thing with this instrument panel, and remember, every instrument panel will be slightly different. So look at your owner's manual. Make sure that you know all your dials, your gauges, all your lights and what they indicate. In this Toyota Camry, we also have a speedometer right smack dab in the middle. It is digital. Very easy to know what speed you're going when you're looking at a number, rather than looking at the dial, trying to guess whether it's 5, 10, whatever it is. Really hard to do when you're learning to drive, because your focus should always be on the road. So a quick look down at the speedometer, see the number that you're trying to aim for, what the speed limit is, and then look back up at the road. It's also important to see that there is a distance to empty. So we get to go 498 miles on the remainder of the gas that we have in this vehicle. We have an outside temperature gauge telling us it's 77 right now. Why is that important in a vehicle? Because in colder temperatures, you want to know when the road is going to start to freeze over. At the very bottom of this indicator, you have what gear that you're in. We're in park. So when you depress the brake pedal and go over to the gear shift, depending on what gear that you put it in, it will be indicated right there in the middle for you. You also have a odometer, which will also act as a tripometer if you were to press a button. And this computer screen can change according to what you want to find out about the vehicle. This is actually telling you that we are going southeast at the time. We press it again, the radio is off. If we press it again, it could be linked up to your text messages. We go back to settings, we're back at the first gauge, and this will also give us multiple subcategories that we could actually go through, telling us what we're averaging for miles per gallon on fuel economy. There's your tripometer if you want to gauge how far you've been on a trip. This is telling you how the hybrid battery is working at the time, and tire pressure, which is also very, very helpful. But the thing to remember about the tire pressure gauge inside a vehicle, it is a rough estimate of what you have for tire pressure. I always keep on my vehicle a separate gauge that I can actually go outside, put onto the tire stem, and get an accurate reading. These are a little bit more accurate than the pencil type gauges that you have, although it's better to have something like that than nothing at all. So I always keep that in my vehicle. So let's go through the rest of the car with a quick rundown. Let's take a look at the directionals. If you take a look at the directional, up is right. You can see the light flashing. Down is left. In all the years that I've been teaching, there has not been a class where I haven't had a couple students that do not know their left and their right. They don't even know what to do with the directional lever. To go left, do I go up? Do I go down? They're very confused. They're very nervous when they start to drive. One of the easiest ways that I've been able to teach left and right is that I have them open up their fingers, and as they turn the wheel in the direction that they want to go, it is indicating with the tail light which direction we're going. Very easy to remember right and left. So here's the left. Put your fingers open. As you're grabbing the wheel, go down. Directional light is on, indicating that we are going to the left. After a while, they'll be able to do that, and then they can just flick it with their fingers and not have to worry about what to do. But put it between the two fingers. Pretty helpful for someone that's been struggling. If you take a look at the directional lever, we also have a couple settings for our lights. I always recommend driving with your lights on auto. So as it gets darker, they will come automatically. It also gives you a low voltage light during the day, so when it's foggy, kind of overcast, your car will stick out. When people look in their rearview mirrors, they'll be able to see your car. Up from there, use your parking lights, and we'll talk more about that later. But parking lights are not to be used when you're moving. It's when the car is parked and not moving. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Low beams all the way up, indicator that you've got full use of your low beam. If you take your directional lever and push it forward, notice the blue light that comes on, indicating that your high beam is on. So if you push it forward to activate the high beam, bring the lever back towards you to turn it off. Not every car has it in this sequence. Once again, look at your owner's manual. Know what your car has. Your first driving lesson with your parents or with a friend, whoever, should be in a parking lot getting used to the controls, because you do not want to be driving searching for levers, searching for buttons, searching for gauges when something is going wrong. Your focus has to be on driving. It has to be on the position, your speed, interacting with other cars and pedestrians. The minute you take your eyes off the road and start focusing where your windshield wipers are or how to turn off your high beams, you are not going to stay in your lane. You are going out of your center position on the roadway, and now you are becoming dangerous. Cars are now equipped with info centers, so most of the buttons here in the middle will be for like your radio, for Bluetooth, things like that, hanging up your phone, different modes that you have on your info center, which is right there. Now remember, your info center will also be, on most cars now, your backup camera. And your backup camera should be another aid to help you in reverse. Do not entirely go by what you see in your backup camera, because it does have a limited amount of view. So you're still going to have to look in your side view mirrors, rear view mirror, and then possibly turning your head in any direction that you're going to go. Let's take a look at the lever over here to the right of the steering wheel. This is your windshield wiper. on a Toyota, and you basically have a few positions. You can see right here we are in the off position, so if we were to go down from the off position, we're going to go into intermittent. And then your intermittent also has a dial that allows you to change the speed. Then you have low, and then you have high. If you take a look at the center of your console, you basically have your hazard lights, emergency flashes, whatever you want to call them. You've got your temperature. Now in this car we have dual temperature, so you can change according to what you want to have for the vehicle. This will control the fan. You have your front defroster. You have your rear defroster. You have the mode where the air is being circulated. Also notice that the defroster comes up, and then air circulation over here, and then your air. Now this is the beginning of August, so it is a little bit warm, so the air is on as we drive most days. But the thing to remember about your defroster is that when you have your defrosters on in the winter time, because people will be getting into the vehicle, they may be warm, especially students. They may have just come from a class or from a sporting event, and moisture is going to be inside the vehicle. It would be a good idea to put your car in the defroster mode with the air conditioning on to get a lot of the moisture outside of the vehicle. You don't want to keep it inside the vehicle. You want to get out of it, or else your windows are going to steam up a little bit. We mentioned the gear selector. On the gear selector, you've got to remember your foot needs to be on the brake. Kind of hard to see in the position that I'm in right now. The pedal just in the middle that's got a horizontal position is your brake. The pedal to the far right, of course, is your gas or accelerator pedal, and you should be able to pivot your foot between the two pedals when you drive. It is not illegal to brake with your left foot and drive or accelerate with your right foot. It's not recommended for a new driver because they could be confused on what foot is on what pedal, and both feet will actually go down. So I always recommend heel on the floor, pivot between the two pedals. If you make a mistake, then you can go over to the other pedal. But foot must be on the brake, must be depressed for you to put it in the gear that you want. Now you must follow the diagram all the way over to the right and down to get into reverse. Then you have neutral, drive, and then B, which is a lower gear. On some cars you may have 1 or 2. You may have S or L. These are lower gears that will provide more torque to your vehicle to get up a hill in bad weather, or if you're towing something. It does provide some braking force to your vehicle. Also remember that the only two gears that you can start your vehicle in is neutral and park. If you have any engine problems, can get the gear selector out, maybe putting in a neutral and starting up, that will get you going. In this particular vehicle we have seat warmers, so we have that down here, so make sure you don't accidentally have that on in the middle of summer. You're going to put someone into a hot seat. It won't be too comfortable when they drive. Back to the info center here. The thing I want to point out is that every car is going to be set up for the owner of the vehicle. So when I get a student in the vehicle, very important to let them understand that this is for backing up. We're going to use the backup camera. If we ever do listen to music, it will always just be on a station, really at a very low volume, but not to mess around when you're learning to drive with the instrument info center here. It gets to be very distracting, so not a good thing to do in a car that's moving. So let's just turn this off here, power this off. That's good. Parking brake on some cars are between the bucket seats, but in this particular vehicle it's down, far left underneath the instrument panel. Take your left foot, push down on that parking brake, and then push down to deactivate it. Just below that, you can see over here is a piece of plastic. Right here is what we call a dead pedal. In this dead pedal, you push your left foot, like I am right now. This provides, if you take a look what I'm doing with my back, notice that when I'm pressing on my left foot, my back goes against the back of my seat. That's allowing me to just stay upright. Think about this. If you keep your left foot, see how a lot of people may keep their left foot underneath their right foot? If you take a look, if I'm making a turn right now, notice what my upper body is doing. It's leaning. So in case of a crash, the airbag is only protecting your shoulder and not your upper body. Pressing on your left foot presses your back up against the seat and allows the airbag to do what it's meant to do, is to protect all your vital organs between your shoulder blade and your belly button. So don't put that foot underneath. Don't lean into your turns. Stay upright in your driving. Now, while we're here talking about position, be extremely careful about people that want to get extremely close to the steering wheel. When you have your elbows pinned up against your body, it doesn't allow full rotation of the steering wheel. It doesn't allow the airbag to come out correctly, and you're going to do some internal damage to your upper body and to your face. This is way too close to a steering wheel. Now when you go back, a lot of males think that they're at home in their easy chair, and they want to drive like this. One hand, a lot of times, if they've had some experience with driving and they have basic controls of a car, they think driving is more comfortable this way. Same problem as being too close. It doesn't allow you to have the right hand position or to allow you to turn the wheel in a manner to handle most emergencies. Could you drive straight down the road like this? Absolutely. But you put a child that's coming out in front of you, an animal, you're too relaxed. You're too relaxed. So, as we said earlier, what you want to make sure that you're doing is allowing yourself to have your wrist at the top of the steering wheel. So when you drop down 10 and 2, 9 and 3, 8 and 4, then you're in the best position. If you take a look at someone drive, most people will find a position that's good for them. It may be a little bit off center, like 1 o'clock and 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock, but they still have contact, both hands on the wheel. The thing to remember, there are no laws, as far as I know, in any state that says that you have to have both hands on the wheel. This is a technique. This is about safety. This is controlling the vehicle. Could you drive with one finger? Could you drive with your knees? Maybe your dad used to tell you, oh yeah, I used to drive with my knees. Of course, the steering wheel is moving. As long as the wheel is moving, the car is moving with the steering wheel. So how you do that doesn't really matter as long as you have complete control of the vehicle. Now, a lot of people say do not turn a wheel from the top, because now with the technology with airbags, the airbags will be coming out at your arm and your arm will be coming out at you. I do understand that. I do believe that. But I don't believe that in an emergency that push-pull, where most people are turning the wheel from the bottom at 8 and 4 o'clock and pushing and sliding the wheel, is going to allow you to make that full turn. If you take a look at a steering wheel with both hands on the wheel, you could basically go on a face of a clock from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock with one fluid motion. Same thing from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock very quickly. When you do push-pull, push-pull only allows you to go 6 inches at a time takes too long in an emergency. So I'm still a firm believer at higher speeds you're going hand over hand. In a parking lot like we're in right now, you're going to probably go into a parking space because of slow speed with a push-pull, be more relaxed at a lower speed. One of the things we mentioned earlier was your tire pressure, that you can check it on the one of the different modes inside the vehicle, indicating what you have for tire pressure and how to use a gauge on the tire stem. Now, all tires on the tire wall will indicate the maximum pressure that you put into a tire. But the best way to do this, if you come around the corner here and take a look, right on the door jamb will give you an indicator of what you have for tire size and also what's recommended for tire pressure. Notice it says 35, and I believe what we had on the indicator in the vehicle, we were right between 34 and 36. The other thing that I want to point out on the tire, on the door jamb right here, is your VIN number. Your VIN number is like your Social Security number that you have that identifies you. It's very particular to you. A car uses a VIN number, vehicle identification number. It's located here on the door, and if you come around to the front, we can see it located right here in the front window. This also will be indicated on your registration. That way, if your vehicle ever has a recall, how do they send out all the information to Toyota owners that you have a brake problem? They take a look through a computer system and they run VIN numbers through the state system and send out notices to people that their car has a current recall. So it's important to know this. You can actually go to a website, and I'll list this up above, where you can go, put in your VIN number, and it will indicate what type of recalls that your car may have had. This is helpful when you go to buy a vehicle. I'd use Carfax. That's also a helpful way to find out if there's been any type of recalls. But you can also just do this, I think it's safercar.gov, and you put in a VIN number and model year, and it'll give you all the information about recalls. So these are just a few helpful tips to get you out on the road going for your first drive. Well, thanks for watching my first video for peace, love, and safe driving. Remember to click the button below if you found this to be useful. Also put a comment of maybe some things that you would like to know about teaching someone how to drive, or some safety tips that may be helpful to you. So thank you for watching, and hey, come here. Do you have your seatbelt on? You know I don't like driving without you being in your seatbelt.